Nada más que, ¿qué opinión le merece esta confiscación del supuesto departamento propiedad del licenciado Yarrington en la Isla del Padre? Aparte de esta, un poquito más claro lo que me contestó, si va a suceder en una confiscación, ¿no?
Miren, la Constitución General de la República establece claramente que si un presidente cometió delitos durante el tiempo de su encargo, sería en su momento las autoridades competentes, Procuraduría General de la República y Cámara de Diputados y el Congreso, quienes deberían fincar la responsabilidad. Felipe Calderón lo sabe. Si en el desarrollo de la secuela del proceso se desprenden elementos que acrediten algún hecho que pudiera ser constitutivo de delito cometido por Felipe Calderón, tenga la convicción de que procederemos a hacerlo del conocimiento de las autoridades correspondientes. Pero, así lo estimamos desde un principio y así ha sido. ¿Requiere repetir su pregunta para el señor Andrew Fee?
Su opinión respecto a la confiscación del departamento de Isla del Padre.
What's your opinion about the seizure of the apartment in Isla del Padre?
It has nothing to do with Governor Yarrington. There's no connection between the property and Governor Yarrington. The government has had an opportunity to have documents shown and witnesses. There's no one that suggests that it has anything to do with Governor Yarrington. There are document trails. When somebody buys property, there's evidence of a person's participation. There is none. Governor Yarrington's name doesn't appear anywhere. And there's no credible witnesses out there that say that he was involved in laundering any money or buying any property. Again, no credible witnesses. I ask you, if you know of a credible witness, or if the government knows, tell us about him. They don't, because they don't have anybody out there that speaks the truth. Everyone that the government has an agenda. And what the government does is it trades someone's freedom for their testimony. And generally speaking, when someone has to trade their freedom for testimony, it's false testimony. If somebody's in jail and the government wants that person cooperating, and the person says, I'll cooperate, I'll give testimony, generally that testimony is false because the person's trading his freedom to testify against someone else to help the government.
No existen testimonios que evidencien ninguna conexión entre los bienes asegurados con el exgobernador Yarrington. Muchas ocasiones los testigos son sometidos a negociaciones que consisten en dar una declaración a cambio de obtener beneficios de libertad. Sin embargo, lo que entendí, si estoy en lo correcto, sin embargo, de lo que ha quedado acreditado durante el juicio es que no existe ninguna evidencia que relacione la propiedad de Yarrington con él, y mucho menos que haya sido acreditado con testimonios.
¿Se está haciendo el proceso? ¿Se ha considerado en algún momento incorporarse al programa de testigos protegidos de Estados Unidos? Eso.
Does Yarrington or your client, are you thinking to incorporate Yarrington as in the witness program, protected witness program?
Absolutely not. He has done nothing wrong. There's nobody, he has no enemies out there. There's been no threats against him. He's just now a citizen that's trying to live his life. And he's not being able to live his life because the government continues to make false allegations about him. An interesting point, in US law, you have to bring a criminal case within 5 years. All of the government's allegations about Governor Yarrington are more than 5 years ago. There'll never be a criminal charge against Governor Yarrington. Governor Yarrington would want to come back. He would welcome coming back to the United States, but they canceled his visa. They don't want him in the United States. It doesn't make any sense that you would want to indict and file charges against somebody and ask that person to file claims against property and at the same time deny their entry into the United States. He was there. If they wanted to arrest him, they could have arrested him. If they wanted to ask him about the property, he was there. He would have answered their questions. But they basically told him to leave the country. You don't ask a person to leave the country that you're investigating. If they had a real investigation with real witnesses that told the truth and real documents, they wouldn't have let him go. But what they have is no documents. They have, if they have any testimony from anybody, it's false testimony, people bargaining for their freedom. And all they're doing now is removing him from the country, and at the same time throwing out allegations out there that he may be involved. That's not the way to conduct an investigation. That's a way to harm one's reputation. We would be more than willing, I repeat, to confront the government with their charges, but he can't because he has no permission to come into the United States. He's been denied entry. And I've asked the government about his role. Who are the witnesses? What facts do you have? And nobody's given me anything. The only thing we see is a forfeiture case on property that's not his. If it was his, we would have filed a claim. And if we would have filed a claim to the property, it still would have been a problem even to get it because they won't let him into the country. But it's not his. If it was his property, I guarantee you we would have fought it. But why should we fight for property that's not ours? We wouldn't have won. The people that have the property, whoever owns the property, needs to file a claim to the property. And those people are the ones that the government should be speaking with, not Governor Yarrington.
Palabras más, palabras menos, y bueno, está el audio grabado para ustedes, para que después a través de gente de confianza de ustedes les haga la traducción, pero palabras más, palabras menos. Absolutamente no, dijo. Nos ha manifestado que, de acuerdo a las leyes que existen en Estados Unidos, los cargos en contra de Tomás Yarrington podrían haber estado prescritos, porque no se puede perseguir y acusar a alguien después de que han transcurrido 5 años, y que no existe ninguna vinculación, nuevamente lo manifestó, ninguna vinculación entre las propiedades aseguradas con el exgobernador Tomás Yarrington.
Sí, buenos días, Rodrigo Soberanes de CNN México. ¿Quién es Napoleón Rodríguez? No sé si nos pueden decir quién es este personaje que supuestamente es el propietario de las propiedades que fueron confiscadas, y cuál sería la relación exactamente que podría haber Yarrington.
Miren, lo que hemos tenido conocimiento nosotros, porque así nos lo platicó el licenciado Yarrington, él me dice, conocía a muchos tamaulipecos, a familias prestigiadas, los traté como gobernador. Napoleón Rodríguez es un empresario en el tema de tlapalerías, ferreterías, como gobernador como a cualquier ciudadano. La familia, el señor Napoleón Rodríguez, es un empresario, con prestigio en Tamaulipas, simpatizante y apoyó durante la campaña del licenciado Yarrington a través de redes sociales o colaboradores, no sé cómo haya apoyado, pero finalmente él es el dueño de este departamento. Y esa fue su relación con Tomás Yarrington. ¿Qué delito cometió? ¿Por qué está preso? Mire, lo que dijeron los medios fue que había sido arraigado por un término de 80 días para buscar alguna vinculación con Yarrington en temas de delitos contra la salud, delincuencia organizada o lavado de dinero. Finalmente no encontraron nada al respecto y la Procuraduría General de la República ejercitó acción penal y está formalmente preso sin restricción de su libertad, está en libertad bajo fianza por el delito de portación de arma.
José de Córdoba del Wall Street Journal. ¿Cuál rol tiene el gobierno de Estados Unidos en esta supuesta persecución política del gobierno mexicano del gobernador Yarrington? ¿Y qué otras propiedades o qué propiedades tiene el gobernador Yarrington en Estados Unidos?
What is the American government in this case? What is doing the American government? What is playing the American government? What role is playing in this case?
Good question. The government is, the way the government conducts their investigations, if Governor Yarrington was under criminal investigation, he would have been arrested, not asked to leave the country. The government, when they investigate people, and again, these alleged acts go back 8-9 years ago. They were investigating him. They would have arrested him, not asked him to leave the country. The fact is that they've asked him to leave the country, not arrested him, meaning there was no criminal charges, there were no indictments, there were no sealed indictments. What the government does a lot is they seal an indictment and then they go arrest somebody without them knowing about it. They had a perfect opportunity to arrest him if they had criminal charges, if they had sufficient evidence and witness testimony. They don't. After they asked him to leave, they started seizing property, claiming that he had a responsibility. The government seizes property a lot when they know that people will not be able to respond to it. The property is owned by people that live in Mexico. Many of those people have been arrested by the Mexican government. They have no ability to challenge the property. In jail. Napoleon Rodriguez is in jail. He can't challenge the property he owns. The government does that so that they can take the property without a challenge.
¿Por qué razón intentaron o le pidieron o le cancelaron la visa?
Yes.
¿Por qué razón? What reason?
They gave no reason for it. We've been trying to find out why.
Did you fight it in court? Did you, can you fight it? I mean,
we have immigration immigration lawyers in the United States checking into it, but we have gotten no information why. We've asked and asked, and we've gotten no information. Don't cancel someone's visa because you're going to indict them. You just indict them and arrest them. They had their own reasons for canceling his visa that they have not told us about.
When was that?
That was well over a year ago. It was before all the charges. It was before all the forfeitures. They asked him to leave the country. They didn't arrest him. They didn't detain him. They just didn't continue his visa.
Where was he residing at that time?
Pardon?
Where was he at that time?
He was living in Florida and Texas. But he wasn't hiding. He was perfectly out there, willing to talk to anybody. If the government had any questions, we would have been more than willing to discuss it with him. He'd be more than willing to come back to the United States now to discuss it. But there's nothing to discuss because the government hasn't approached us with any type of criminal allegations. It's all in the media. The government has done press releases, talked to the media, but they haven't talked to his lawyers. They haven't shown us anything that's credible. Again, it's too late. The evidence that they have is non-existent. There's no documents, there's no credible witnesses. Plus, it's too late. The statute of limitations, years ago. They can't bring a criminal charge. The law in the United States does not permit it. Time has expired. You get 5 years to investigate anybody for any type of crime, generally. Except murder. And that's state type of crimes. But in the federal system, you generally get 5 years in a money laundering case when the allegations